the greatest advantage the Bible gave Christian men is giving you the roadmap to success. But they completely waste it because they don't understand what they're reading when they read it. And most of them actually don't read it, unfortunately, although they should. So I'm going to go over exactly what I mean by all this. So, pulling out the whiteboard, again, high level. I used to do a lot of whiteboard videos, a lot of whiteboard streams on my old channels, but no one really watched it. So I was like, okay, I have to figure out a new strategy, but I'm going to try to implement the whiteboards, okay? Because the whiteboards, when I pull out a whiteboard, when I start talking for 40 minutes, you know I'm talking about something good. So let's draw some people. All right, let's draw person number 1, person number 2. Just give them arms. Don't want any amputees in here. No offense to amputees. Imagine being an amputee and trying to eat cereal. Must suck. Anyway, so 3 people. All right, 3 people, and every human has goals. So let's try a G. Goals. That's a 6. Try a G. Goals. And they're all seeing the end of a path. So a square is like the roadmap. And they're like, okay, how do I get from point A to B? B is the goal. That's what they want to do. And usually these goals consist of a few different things. Usually it's about money, so let's draw an M for money, or just draw a dollar sign. Chick, so chick. Girl, let's draw a little feminine symbol. Not feminist symbol, feminine symbol. Or happiness. You want to be happy. And every person is like, okay, how do I achieve this? And they spend their whole life trying to figure out how to get there. But most of them don't get there. Most of them are kind of on the path, but then they completely veer off. Right? Completely veer off into, I don't know, porn. So, it's over here so you can see that. Veer into porn. All right, they go to make money, they take a sidetrack, and now they're watching a bunch of porn. And that's obviously not a good thing. So, how are you able to navigate through this whole life? And remember, throughout your whole life, think about what you're doing right now. Think about what you did earlier. Think about what you did after. You're always thinking about how can you move forward. Humans are naturally made in this way to where we always want to move towards something. And this is the biggest question of life. What is the meaning of life? What is the purpose of life? Why are you alive? How do you become happy? How do you achieve wholeness? Etc. You have all these people and they have no idea what they're doing. This is the average person in society now. They have no idea what they're doing. This is why they end up going like, well, let's go watch some Andrew Tate. Let's go watch some Myron Gaines. Let's go watch some Hassan Piker. I mean, a lot of people look at Hassan Piker like a figure. So, Destiny. Let's listen to Destiny. They listen to all these different people and taking on all these different paths. But we, as Christians, are given a single path to the ultimate goal. The thing we truly desire as human beings. And that is uniting with Creator. So, let's draw a Trinity. Uniting with the Creator, God, Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. We're given a direct path towards it. And I want you to think about things like this. Okay? We're given a direct path towards God. So, in the sense, we should know what to do all day. Right? Ultimately, we're trying to move towards God. And the Bible gives a lot of different ways of doing that. There's things like prayer, there's things like having faith, so on and so forth. But the other advantage Christian men are not taking advantage of is understanding that the principles in the Bible tell you how to get these things as well. Okay, so these things that everyone wants. So we want to do well with women, we want to make money, we want to be happy, all those different type of things. These are included in the path. So what you see from one side is people just completely ignoring the Bible. And you see from another side is going like, okay, well, I may believe in the Bible, but the Bible doesn't teach about all these different things. Both those positions are wrong. I haven't seen anyone talk about this. Don't worry, everything I say will be free, but I will suggest very heavily that you join my Discord because you can get one-on-one access with me. You can ask me a question on there. I will answer it in there as of now, at least. It's not too crazy yet. And you also gain access to uncensored information in Discord channel, which I cannot share on YouTube. There's also more general, broad information and niche information on different subjects that are not touched on in this video, most likely. Being said, find that in the description. Let's get back to the video. In this way, except for people that are not Christians. They use the Bible in a totally esoteric sense and without the literal stuff, so they don't actually believe that God exists, but they take away the lessons and whatnot. Unfortunately, they understand this aspect a lot better than us. All this stuff can be brought from the Bible. So let's say this, and we have happy, and we have girl. Okay, let's give some examples of how this stuff's outlined. So, money. Money's related to business, right? Business or job. So right, you want to go. How does one achieve these things? Well, the very basic, very, materialist answer is well, you see, people have money, and people want to buy things, and if you provide a service of value, then people will give you their money. It's not actually how it works, okay? None of the deep level. That's the surface level, okay, awesome, bro. So now how do I actually make money? This is the deeper level, okay? So, I want to understand the fall. Maybe you're wondering why I'm bringing up the fall, but you'll understand why. The fall, what is the fall? The fall brought death into the world, right? So how can the actions of one human bring death onto the whole world? Well, it's because this is how God made the system, alright? So we have God. God has dominion over everything. He's full control. But what he did is, as it says in Genesis, God gave dominion of the world to humans. So it's not that, so the Calvinists will go because they would disagree with this model, the Calvinists. What the Calvinists will say is oh, you're taking power away from God. No. We have dominion because God gave it to us. That's what Genesis says. So now we have a human will. So it's still within God's will. There's nothing that operates without of his will. But he willed that humans may have a will. That's free will, right? So there's a human will, and this is all of humanity. So when I say human, I mean all of humanity. And then you have you. And you contribute to this human will. And this human will generates change in the world. So this relates to the fall because one human, it's two, technically. Two humans brought death into the world through the fall. And this fall led to death, which is a reflection of this degrading, the overall human will. This also led to individual human wills to be defected. I don't believe in the Western view of original sin. I believe in the Eastern view, which is that we have a tendency towards sin. Every human will sin. We have depraved thoughts and whatnot. So, you, with your depraved thoughts, depraved nature, contribute to this human will. So, there's a question that's always asked of, how can humanity be so bad? How can humanity be so degenerate? How can all these disastrous things happen if God's in control? And the answer is very simple. It's because humans have been given control of this earth and we keep messing it up. And then they say, well, what about natural disasters? What about tornadoes? What about all these different type of things that are not caused by free will directly? And a lot of Christians stumble. A lot of Christians don't understand the answer. The answer is very simple. Free will applies to the natural world as well. Right? So that causes natural disasters to happen. It causes degeneration in society. Humans will go towards it. And this could be demonstrated even in other principles what about a house? Think of a house. Did a house just poof in there, or did people think and feel about it to make the house? Right? That's how a house was made. That's how everything was made. If you look around in your room, things didn't just plop into there. Okay, people thought and felt about them. People willed towards these things. So, what is achieving good job in business? What is achieving, making money from a job? All that stuff is just you willing towards it, and that contributing to the human will, and that human will creates change in the world. This is also how prayer works. Right? This is why faith is so important, because faith actually changes how the world works. This is the operative principle in how things work. So, this is why the Bible doesn't just say, do stuff. The Bible says, change your heart and change your mind. And this is how, again, how we explain how the fall can lead to death of all the world. Right? So, with that in mind, okay, cool, nice lesson, bro. So how do I actually use this for good? Okay. So, if you have any goal, which could be literally any of this stuff, right? Any of this stuff. If you have this goal, what you must do is, well, first, I would say always, you have to first clear your mind out of the garbage, purify it through God, and then you do this. So I wouldn't do it out of order, but generally speaking, how do you achieve things? Well, you achieve things by showing up and doing the work. Right? So you do the work. Over and over and over again. You show up every day to get things done. And over time, this leads to results. What is work? Work is not you showing up and doing a job. What work is you willing towards the subject in question. You're willing towards your business, and it's like you're giving it life. Okay, you need to stop thinking in such materialist terms, because that's why you can't achieve anything. Humans, first and foremost, are spiritual. First and foremost, the world is spiritual. So, don't focus so much on the physical action. The physical action comes from the thought and comes from the feeling. So if you aren't spiritually right, you can't do the work properly. Okay? So, when you are willing properly, when you are able to control it, and TikTok, porn, all these different things, they make it harder for you to control it, because it's kind of like attention span. Like, willing is putting focused energy into something, right? And when you are on TikTok, you're like, going like this. So then when it comes time to actually put something on, it's like boiling water. It's like cooking water on the stove. Not cooking, boiling water on the stove, right? If you take it off the heat, it's not going to boil. But that's what happens when you lose your attention. So your attention starts withering. It starts falling apart. You may realize that... You may realize that when you work, you're doing good, and then you stop working. And you're doing good, and you stop working. That's related to a spiritual issue. The issue is not necessarily that you just can't get the work done. The problem is there's something holding you back. So you can think of human has will, it's free will, to do things, and this will comes from the person's soul, but through the flesh, the soul gets corrupted. Right? So when we watch porn, we're corrupting the soul. When we were young and we were told things that were wrong, that corrupts the soul. So we have to protect younger people. Right? And through that, so the soul facilitates willing, so now you have a corrupted soul, so your will becomes corrupted. So this is when you start going like, oh, well, I want to have sex before marriage. I want to fornicate. I want to watch porn. Because, listen, some of you guys might not want to hear this, because you'll still feel very convicted from it. But when you are watching porn, you're not just, oh, well, I did something wrong. No, you're willed towards porn. Okay? Why would you will towards porn? Corrupted. Right. Sure you're getting what I mean now. So, you have to purify it through God. That's what I was talking about earlier. But ultimately, all this energy you put into here can be put into something good, like your work. Like becoming a better person. Right? And of course, ultimately it should be about God. So that's why you're purifying the will through God. And always understand that God is in everything. Okay, when you work, don't see it as, okay, I spent my time with God and now I'm going to work. No. 24/7, you're living out a prayer. That's what really changing the heart and mind is. Imagine if someone said, I'm going to pray that I'm going to be a better person. Then they stopped praying and they just went out and did whatever. You think they're retarded. So don't be retarded. Go like, you know what? I'm going to say this prayer. This is how I feel. I want to do better. And live your whole life out as much as you can, as best as you can, through that prayer. Okay, that's how you actually make change in your life. That's actually how you change yourself. So when you're talking about, I want to be good at a sport, I want to be good at baseball, I want to start a business that's going to be good, I want a good wife, all this other stuff, I want to take care of myself, that's a part of your prayer. Okay? Don't divorce it from God. So if you go like, and this is what tells you if you're doing something wrong. Because if you're like, well, I want to go sleep with a girl. Can you pray about that? And you're like, God, let me sleep with a girl. Because you're going to feel convicted. You're going to feel like, I can't say that, and that's wrong. You know you shouldn't be doing these things. You know that is wrong. We'll talk more about that later, but the point is that we were given a blueprint. And the Bible talks about how, in Mark, how faith moves mountains. Now, if you pray that a mountain will be moved from here to here, and you believe it has been done, so you believe in the present tense, that I am, then it will be done for you. It's talking about this. It's talking about this. Yeah? That's how change actually happens. Change doesn't happen from you. Just sports is not just about you doing an exercise multiple times and getting better at it. It's about willing. Right? This is how you do stuff at a higher level. So you make things happen. So as for the ultimate advantage is we are given the system. We are told how achieving things actually works. And beyond that, how to actually unite with the Creator, which is through this process of faith, prayer, purifying yourself through Jesus, who came to purify humanity, redeem humanity from their own folly. We're given that path, yet we waste it all the time. So, I hope that you're able to chew on what I said a little bit and think about it and go like, you know what, okay. See what I've been doing, start taking this route. That'll be very good for you. You'll be able to achieve things a lot faster, a lot better, and most importantly, get closer with God.